So, ladies and gentlemen, we're not required to, but you may take notes during this trial, except during the opening statements and closing arguments. The court will provide you with material. In taking notes, you must be careful that it does not distract you from carefully listening to and observing the witnesses. You may rely on your notes to refresh your memory during the deliberations, otherwise keep them confidential. After the trial, the notes will be collected and destroyed. So at this point, we'll hand out those notes. While they do that, would you like to stand for a minute? Mr. Seaman, are you ready to present your first witness?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
State calls Eva Kranski.
Ms. Kranski, if you take the stand here, and then raise your right hand.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give in the matter now before the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You may have a seat.
Okay. Mr. Seaman?
Thank you. Please state your name, spell the last for the record. First and last, if you would, please.
Eva Marie Lawson-Kransky.
How do you spell your last name, Ms. Kranski?
Lawson, Lawson. Kransky, Kranski.
Now, Ms. Kranski, do you know Brian Flatoff?
Yes, I do.
How long have you known him?
Many, many years, but quite intimately for 5.5 years, roughly.
And you were involved in an intimate relationship with Mr. Flatoff?
I was, yes.
When did that end?
July, the end of July, around the end of July in 2015.
And now, you were married, correct?
Legally, yes.
And you were legally married during the course of that relationship?
Yes.
And your husband is Morgan?
Yes, Jeffrey Morgan.
Jeffrey Morgan. You remained friends, though, with the defendant after that relationship ended?
Yes.
And I'm going to take you back to December 4th, 2015. Where did you reside back then?
Where I always have.
And where is that, please?
In Neenah.
City of Neenah, Winnebago County, Wisconsin, correct?
Yes.
Now, during the course of your relationship with Mr. Flatoff, specifically around September, October of 2015, do you recall the dispute he had over his motorcycle?
I wasn't around for 3 whole months, from the end of July until the end of October. So anything in those 3 months, I would not have knowledge of.
Well, when you were back then in the area at the end of October 2015, did you speak to the defendant at all, or did he make any statements to you at all regarding an issue with his motorcycle?
Yes.
And what was his position regarding the status of the title of his motorcycle?
It had been forged.
Now, who did he say had forged it?
Vance Dalton.
And how was the defendant feeling about this alleged forgery of his title?
Very upset.
Now, I'm going to direct your attention to the evening of December 4th, 2015. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And do you know who Gerald Elke is?
Yes.
And on that night, did you receive a call or were you contacted by Gerald Elke regarding Brian Flatoff?
Only when he called to have me come pick him up from Jerry's house.
And did you go pick Brian Flatoff up from Mr. Elke's house?
Yes, I did.
Approximately what time was that?
It was approximately 9:45 p.m.
And how did the defendant appear to you regarding his condition?
He seemed drunk.
And how did he seem drunk to you?
Just in his mannerisms.
Could you detect an odor of intoxicants?
Once he got in the car and seatbelted in, yes, I did.
So is it fair to say that based on your prior relationship with Brian Flatoff, you had seen him under the influence of alcohol in the past, is that correct?
Yes.
And based on those prior observations and the odor of intoxicants, you formed the opinion that he was intoxicated that night?
Yes.
Where did you go after you picked the defendant up?
Well, I tried to go to his brother's house to dump him off there. His brother didn't answer the door. I knew that I would need help with him. He was asleep by this time in the car. And I contemplated taking him to the hospital, but we've been turned away 4 times. So that wasn't an option. So I took him back to my home, parked in the garage, put the passenger seat down, and put a blanket over him.
Do you recall approximately what time this was by the time you got home?
I'm going to say between 10:15.
So you left him in the vehicle covered in the blanket, correct?
Yes.
Did you stay in the garage?
Yes.
Now approximately 3:30 a.m. or so, did something occur
4 a.m. on the dot.
4 a.m. on the dot? What happened at 4 a.m. on the dot?
He got out of the vehicle and fell flat on his face.
Did you take him inside afterwards?
Yes, I did. After a few more falls and hitting his head.
And eventually, then you were able to go to bed?
No.
Well, at some point on the morning of December 5th, did the defendant wake up and have a discussion with you about going down to Eagle Nation?
Well, throughout the rough early morning, late night, early morning it would be, I was busy trying to find out where he was bleeding from. So it had to have been coming from his nose. I was concerned about him having a concussion or worse. When he wanted to, by the time he wanted to go to Eagle Nation to speak to Vance, that was after 7 o'clock in the morning.
So did he injure himself when he fell out of the vehicle in the garage?
Yes. And 3 or 4 other times also.
The best that you could tell, he gave himself a bloody nose during those spills?
Yes.
So now you just testified that after 7 o'clock in the morning on the 5th, then he started talking to you about wanting to go down to Eagle Nation and talk to Vance, correct?
Yes.
What did he say about that?
He just said that he knew that he would be there and wanted to go speak with him. And I told him it was way too early for anyone to be around because he had no sense of time. And he just kept saying, no, someone will be around. I just want to go talk to him. I just want to go talk to him. It'll be okay. And at this point, I was tired. I was mad at him for drinking. So I said, fine. Do what you're going to do.
Now, can you pull that microphone just a little closer and just talk a little louder? Thank you.
And he reassured me. He was calm. That he just wanted to talk to him. He would be back in 1.5 hours. And that was it.
Did he take a vehicle from your residence?
I didn't see him take it, but the vehicle was gone and then left at the Eagle Nation cycle.
So what did you do then after Mr. Flatoff left your residence?
I fell asleep.
And at some point, were you awakened at approximately 9 a.m. or so?
Yes, by morning. He called to tell me that something may be happening at Eagle Nation and to check on Brian.
What did you do once you got that information?
I said, well, he's not here. He said he was going to go down there. I'm sure everything will be okay. And he said, okay, and he hung up. And I don't know how many minutes later, just a few minutes later, he called again and said, no, something really bad is happening. You need to go find him.
So did you get up at that point?
Yes.
And after you got up, did you notice anything missing from your house?
I quickly got dressed, grabbed my keys. On my way out, I saw an open gun case on the table.
And what type of gun was it?
It was a 9mm version of a MAC-10, which may also be called the MAC-11.
And when did you get that MAC-10 or MAC-11 pistol?
Let's see. I'm not sure of the year, but it was quite a few years before the incident.
Had you ever shot in that pistol?
No, not myself, just Morgan. I got it for him.
And so that pistol, where had it been left in your residence?
It was in a big case behind a chair and underneath some bags, boxes.
But yet you were able to observe that the case was open and the pistol was missing when you got up?
Because the case was now on the table. And large.
May I approach you?
You may.
Ms. Kranski, I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 3. Does that pistol look familiar to you?
Not in the state it's in. But obviously it's somewhat the remains of my firearm.
Looking a little worse from where, from the last time you saw it?
Very much so.
So what did you do next, ma'am, and after you observed that your pistol was missing?
I didn't stop. I just ran out, got into my Jeep, and flew to the top of the hill as close as I could get to Eagle Nation. I jumped out of the car, grabbed an officer, told him very quickly, succinctly what was happening, who was there, what he was wearing, what was happening, that he was suicidal, and
Now that morning,
that it was
ma'am,
wait.
that morning, though, he just told you that he was going down to Eagle Nation to speak to Vance Dalton, correct?
Yes,
And do you see Brian Flatoff in court here today?
of course, yes.
Can you point him out, please, by where he is seated, what he is wearing?
Defendant's table,
2 persons to my left.
correct?
Your Honor, that's the record reflect the witnesses identified the defendant.
Mr. Flatoff, any objections?
No, Your Honor. All right, the record will reflect that she identified Mr. Flatoff as the defendant. Go ahead, Mr. Seaman.
Your Honor, the state will move exhibit number 3 in the evidence. Do you want that on the table up by you, or?
Well, we'll have to address that maybe at a later time, but any objections to receiving Exhibit 3?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, it will be received.
I'll leave it here, even though it's in evidence at this point.
That's fine.
No further questions, thank you.
Mr. Flatoff, do you have any questions for this witness?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Oh, where to start this? Did you make a statement to investigators regarding what you had just talked about to District Attorney Seaman, to Della Rosa and Petsborn, to the Department of Justice?
They called me early the next morning and harassed me until I came to the Munich Police Department. I was very ill by that time.
Let me back up for a second. The morning of December 5th, when you arrived down by Eagle Nation and you spoke to that officer, whoever that one is, I can't document.
I didn't get his name. The officer I spoke to, I didn't ever get his name.
Do you recall what you told them about?
Yes, I told him what I just told Mr. Seaman, and that you were with me, you were ordered to be with me 24/7 because we were awaiting an emergency psychiatric appointment for you.
Objection, Your Honor. At this point in time, there's no foundation for this.
It's in the paperwork.
And it's not relevant to phase one.
All right, so that objection is sustained. That's not relevant at this point. And Ms. Law&Crime, if someone objects, let me listen to the argument, and then I'll rule and make the decision, okay? You understand?
Sure.
Okay.
All right, Ms. Kranski, do you know for sure that MAC 10 or 11 was missing on December 5th, or could it have been missing before that date?
I hadn't seen it for years, so I couldn't say for sure.
Okay, but you were interviewed by the Department of Justice, Petsborn, and Della Rosa, correct?
Yes. Kind of. They didn't want to listen to me.
Well, I'll get to that in a minute. Your Honor, could I have this statement brought up to the defendant to review?
Witness.
Do you want to confront her with an inconsistent statement? Is that it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Could you just read that to her and ask her, did she say that?
Well, should I read the whole entire statement?
No. Consult Mr. Salaji, he might be able to help you.
Yes, there is something specific I want to get to. It is the discrepancies between the actual video interview from the Department of Justice, what Ms. Kranski, or what you told or were trying to tell them, and what they wrote in your report. That's what I'm trying to get to here.
Yes.
Are you aware? Do you recall ever reading your report?
No. I wasn't aware that I was giving them a report, really, or a statement. They were trying to ask me at the time what I thought were ridiculous questions, and I'm trying to explain it, and no one wants an explanation. They want yes, no, maybe. Actually, they don't want a maybe. They want a yes or no.
When I get to your video statement, well, I think that'll address that, but I apologize, I'm just trying to...
Perhaps you could reserve the right to call me again?
Okay, ma'am, that's another thing you don't do, is give legal advice to Mr. Flatoff while he's presenting his case, okay?
May I have his bottle of water? I'm very thirsty.
We can get you a bottle of water. Can you do that?
Thank you.
All right, well, first we'll get to your, I'll try to highlight a couple things in your report beyond what you had testified to District Attorney Scott Seaman. But on page 2 of your report, which is 6622-10, is the report number 10 of the Department of Justice report. You had said that at an unknown time on Friday, December 4th, you gave me a ride to talk to Jerry Brutus Elke. And I was there for approximately an hour. Do you know how that came about?
You said that you wanted to go talk to him. Since Morgan wasn't home, you wanted to talk to one of the guys. At that time, you thought he was a friend, so you just wanted to go talk to him and ask him advice about everything.
Who is Jerry Brutus Elke to me, from my understanding, do you believe? Who is Jerry Elke to me?
He was a friend. What seemed to be a friend.
And what was I going to be talking to him about?
Just about how you should deal with everything, what to do next. So, because the Appleton Police Department weren't going to investigate further for the motorcycle, you didn't know what to do next.
To your knowledge, have I ever been at Jerry Elke's house?
Just the once that I'm aware of.
How do I know Jerry Elke?
He would come into our tattoo parlor.
Beyond that, how do I know him as it relates to Eagle Nation or Hell's Lovers? Why would I be talking to him about this stolen motorcycle issue?
Because he was friends with the owners and the workers, Vance Dalton included.
Is he also the vice president of DC Eagles Motorcycle Club at the time?
I believe he may have been. I'm not quite positive, but I think he was at that time.
Are you aware? Oh, that would be.
Mr. Flatoff, you are allowed, since you're cross-examining her, to use leading questions, which means you can suggest to her the
That's
answer
right.
and see if she agrees to. On cross-examination, you're allowed to do that, so go ahead.
Okay. How does when I had issues with, well, we're going to back up even a little bit further, that the district attorney had mentioned on August 19th, I was arrested for a drunk driving. How did that come about to your knowledge? I mean, well, let me go a little bit further to that. Let me interrupt you for a second. Prior to August 19, 2015, did I ever drink and drive to your knowledge?
No.
Mr. Flatoff, I'm going to ask that you move on from that. I don't know how that's relevant in this case.
On the night of August 19, 2015, after my drunk driving, I ended up in jail. How did it come to be, my motorcycle was in your garage, correct?
Yes, it was.
How did it come to be that I got my motorcycle out of your garage?
You and Samantha Ames Wires came to my house in the middle of the night.
And who is Samantha Ames Wires?
She's just kind of, for lack of a better term, the town village idiot whore.
Did Vance Dalton also come to your house the night of August 19, 2015, or the next morning? Early.
Early the next morning, yes.
How does he know Samantha Ames?
I'm not quite sure how they met.
Mr. Flatoff, again, I'm going to move this thing along much faster. You're obviously trying to get some information out from her. And so you can suggest that information to her and say, is this true? So what are you trying to get at? And then ask her.
We'll get beyond. We'll try to get beyond that. Is it true that I mean, I know it's hard to look at my mind, but from statements that I made to you, is it true that I believed that Vance Dalton and Samantha Ames had set me up at the time for a drunk driving to steal my motorcycle and rob my business?
Objection, Your Honor. She's speculating as to the defendant's intent. If he wants to put his mind intent in the record.
Did I say these words?
Oh, Mr. Flatoff, remember I told you when someone objects, I got to listen to them, I'll listen to you, then I got to rule. So anything further, Mr. Sue?
No, Your Honor.
Response?
I can rephrase the question.
Okay, so I'm going to sustain that objection. It's speculation as to what she thinks you thought.
Did I ever say that to you?
Yes.
That was my belief. Okay. when after the drunk driving happened, and I got out of jail for that, I had got an apartment in London. How did Jerry Elke Brutus, were you aware, did I ever tell you that Jerry Elke called me and asked me while I was threatening him in the BC Eagles?
No.
You don't recall me telling that? Did you recall me telling you did you recall me telling you that Jerry Elke was going to be stepping in as the vice president of the DC Eagles to go intervene and talk to ML about Van Stelten stealing my motorcycle?
Yes.
Okay, ML for the jury too is Michael Funk, the deceased person in this case. Now,
Your Honor, he's going to have to phrase that in the question.
Right.
okay, I'm sorry. Is ML Michael Funk?
Yes.
Okay, and he's what I'm trying to figure out how to give the jury, use the jury. Actually, so on the night of December 4th, again, when I wanted to go see Jerry Elke, did he call me to your knowledge, or did it?
I'm not sure who called who first, but you asked if I would give you a ride over to his house. He gave me directions, and I took you. It was approximately 8:30 p.m.
And was I drunk to your knowledge when you drove me there?
No.
And how long after when you picked me up? Was it? How long was I there before you returned?
About 50 minutes, just under an hour.
So in about an hour you picked me up. After you picked me up, was I intoxicated then?
Yes.
And as you testified, fall down drunk where?
Yes, I was very angry with you.
Okay. To your knowledge, did I ever tell you that Jerry Elke went down to Eagle Nation and talked to Michael Funk about my motorcycle and vans?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor, 2 layers of hearsay.
Right, sustained. So move on,
Okay, that's
please.
Jerry Elke. Yes, Your Honor. I would like to get to, I'll ask some preliminary questions I wrote a long time ago. When and how did we meet, and under what circumstances?
In July of 2012?
No, when did we meet? Yeah, I guess it would be 2012. Yeah. You're better at dates than I am. Sorry.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. When and how did we meet, and under what circumstances?
Well, we were casual acquaintances for many years, and we just started talking and became close. I stopped to see you at the tattoo parlor, and you'd take me for a ride, a motorcycle ride, and we just became very fast friends.
And so the jury, I mean, I don't want people to misread our relationship. Why was it we were becoming friends at that point in life?
Well, I was alone. You were alone. We were friends. It just happened. We just became close, very close.
At one time, did you start noticing, this is probably going to get objected to, but mental health issues with me?
It is getting objected to.
And it's sustained.
Okay.
So that's phase 2 if we get there.
Okay. That's it. You yourself and Morgan, your husband, decided to at one point to get me back to Appleton, basically relocate me out of Hortonville to Appleton, correct?
Yes.
For the jury, jury knowledge, I guess. What was my business that I was in?
Tattooing.
How many years?
At that time, 25.
And you loaned me the money to get back, right?
Yes.
Why did you want me to pay the apartment bill?
It was very upsetting for you to be there.
Why was that?
You just gone through a very traumatic divorce and had to basically say goodbye to your beloved pets. Business was not good there. Your mother moved back into Stevens Point, and we all needed a fresh start.
As far as you knew back then, I involved myself with a lot of projects to keep myself busy, my mind busy.
Yes.
One of the first ones is when I built my 55 Chevy truck, correct?
Your Honor, I guess I'm going to object as to the relevance of this.
Why is that relevant, Mr. Flatoff?
Because of the amount of the work I was doing to keep my mind busy and distracted at the time.
Okay, I'm going to sustain that objection. That's not relevant for this trial.
Why don't we do this? We're going to take our afternoon recess, and we'll reconvene maybe 10, 15 minutes. All right?
All right for the jury?
You can close your notebooks and put them on your chair. And ma'am, you can step down.
Thank you.
Please be seated. Mr. Flatoff, I think this is going to be a continuing challenge in this trial. You need to get focused here. I mean, she's been on the stand with you for maybe a half hour, and I guess I'm wondering what you are trying to accomplish with this witness. I mean, every time you call a witness, that's got to be your question to yourself: is what are you trying to accomplish with this witness? She's, like I said, she's been on the stand for you for many minutes, and I'm still not sure where you're going with her, and I don't know if you are. I mean, I get you're trying to get to a video where you're going to say that the officers maybe misrepresented what she said, then get there. But going into your background and your other stuff is just not relevant, and we're going to be here for a long time if you can't get more focused with these witnesses. You understand that?
That's what I'm trying to.
Okay, and then again, back to leading questions, and maybe Mr. Szilagyi can give you some advice on that. I mean, it also seems like you're challenged to try to get the information out from her that you're trying to get out. Her and any other witness, since you're cross-examining, you're allowed to give leading questions. And so, as an example, you could say, isn't it true that I was a tattoo artist for 25 years? Yes. Isn't it true that we met doing this? Yes. But instead, you're kind of scrambling, for words and thoughts, and it's kind of bogging things down here. Okay?
Yes, sir.
So talk to Mr. Szilagyi about how to phrase these questions, and please come up with some focused questions about exactly what you want to accomplish with that witness. Mr. Seaman, anything before we break?
No, sir.
Mr. Flatoff, anything?
No, no.
Okay, let's take him downstairs. You need to take a break and then bring him right back, please.
Skateboard shop. I figured that was the only thing open that early in the morning over there.
And is the skateboard shop attached to the Eagle Nation?
Yeah, it's right in front of the building.
So at that point in time, that's who you thought the hostages were?
Yeah, I thought they were probably younger kids.
Now, at some point, you were able to establish phone contact again with Brian Flatoff while you were on the way to the police department?
No, I actually called Morgan Kranski up and told him, because he was a friend of Brian's, and to tell him, then that's when Morgan told me what guns he had possession of.
Now, do you recall speaking to the defendant again that morning on the phone, where a discussion about cops was had?
He just asked who was outside. He didn't know who was out there. I mean, it was just a lot of mumbo jumbo type of stuff going on the phone.
When did that call occur?
That was a little bit before 9 a.m., I would say, a little after 9 a.m.
Was this when you were on the way to the police department?
Yes.
And did the defendant make any statements about work that was being done on his bike then at that time, or any?
No,
Do you recall if the defendant made any statement about what was gonna happen if there were any cops outside?
that he wasn't gonna be taken alive.
Did he say something about a shit ton of funerals or something?
Yeah,
What was that he said?
that's basically all he
Objection, Your
said.
Honor.
Basis?
Who's leading?
All right.
Leading the witness.
Sustained. Mr. Seaman?
What else did, if anything, did Brian Flatoff say regarding if the police were outside?
He just said that he wasn't gonna be taken alive, that there'd be a lot of people getting killed.
And do you see this Brian Flatoff in court here today?
Yes, I do.
Can you point him out, please, by where he's seated and what he's wearing?
Glasses, black shirt,
Two persons to my left.
yep.
Your Honor, just has the record reflect the witness identify the defendant. Thank you, sir.
Any objection, Mr. Flatoff?
No, Your Honor.
All right, the record will reflect that. That's it, Mr. Seaman?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Flatoff, do you have any questions for Mr. Elkin?
Yes, I do, Your Honor. First one, question, how is it that I know you?
Through a mutual friend that we used to have a long time ago,
Who is that?
Bruce Heisel,
And who is Bruce to you?
just old acquaintance.
Is Bruce Heisel the ex-president of the DC Eagles?
I wouldn't know that. I wasn't in there when he was, if he was in there.
In 2015, were you the vice president of the DC Eagles?
Objection, relevance, improper character. Where else he's going with this?
What's the relevance of this, Mr. Flatoff?
That he is one of the gang members, Michael Funk, Stephen Arredo. This involves a lot of gang members in this case, and I'm not one of them. I don't belong to a gang, but it is the relevance is, I believe, potentially that he's involved. You know what I mean?
All right, so if you're saying it goes with possible bias, I'll overrule the objection. So you may ask the question.
Well, we're in 2015, were you the vice president of DC Eagles?
Yes, it was.
Okay, and isn't it true you called me in 2015 that because Vance Dalton had came to your clubhouse with another mechanic saying that I was threatening you and your club?
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay, and it's also impermissible prior acts.
And the relevancy, Mr. Flatoff.
Well, the relevancy, Your Honor, is that the connection between himself and Vance Dalton, and why the connection, the relevancy for the connection between himself and Vance Dalton and the two clubs.
Okay, I'm going to sustain the objection. I'm not seeing the relevancy in that discussion, and it is hearsay.
Did you tell me that you went down to Eagle Nation to talk to Michael Funk about my motorcycle?
Then I asked him how Vance got the motorcycle.
And when was this?
I couldn't even begin to remember when that was.
Did you mention this to anybody that was investigating you in any of your statements?
That what?
That you had went down to Eagle Nation Cycle to talk to Michael Funk about my motorcycle being stolen?
I just went down to ask how it was obtained. And then when he told me how it was obtained, I just left it alone.
Did you tell me my motorcycle was sold to the president of the Hell's Lovers in Upper Michigan, a man named Ranger?
No.
You said you put a weapon in the back of Eva's truck that I was carrying?
Yeah.
Did you tell Eva about this?
Yeah, she knew about it.
Did you see any video released by the Department of Justice to the media on this case?
No.
I mean,
But I didn't see nothing like that. I just seen the videos that were on YouTube and stuff. That was it.
You said you called the morning of December 5th, you called Stephen Rado, told him I would be coming down there,
No, I told him I couldn't get a hold of him.
but you called him to tell him that I was going to be coming down there?
I told, if he would answer the phone and he wasn't there, I was gonna tell him, don't go down there because you were there.
How did you know I was there?
Because you talked to me on the phone and told me you were.
Didn't you say in your statements and your testimony that I talked to you from inside of the garage?
You're inside of the Eagle Nation Cycles
So
when you left me the message.
you said that you heard me yelling inside of the garage, talking that I'm going to kill people or whatever. You said funerals, I'm going to kill myself, and you were on the phone with me. You testified that while I was in that garage.
In the Eagle Nation's garage, yeah.
And then you chose to call Stephen Rado and Michael Funk and his friends?
Yeah. Because it was earlier in the morning. I knew the shop didn't open until 10 o'clock. It's general knowledge. And from when I knew Matt, Steve and Michael before that, when they would open, they would get until like 9:30. So I figured they weren't already there, so I was gonna let them know that whoever was in there with you, not to go down there, to make more people in there.
And then you called Morgan.
Yeah,
Did you ever think to call the police?
I was already on the way there,
Wouldn't it have been better to call the police?
because I wanted you to stop doing what you were doing.
What time did you get to the police station?
If I had to take a guess, a little bit after 9.
Do you remember when you arrived at the Neenah Police Department at around 9 o'clock, you testified who you spoke to in there first?
Nope, I walked up to the front desk and I told them why I was there. They had some cop come from the back and take me into an interview room. He looked at my phone record, or my phone log, and showed him times you called me and I called you back, tried calling you back, and he took down the information.
Would you have talked to the chief of police, Kevin Wilkinson, prior to talking to him?
I don't believe that was him. I don't know who it was.
Do you know the chief of police, Kevin Wilkinson?
Do I?
Yes.
Just from on TV lately.
How do you know Morgan and Eva?
I know them two through events. Through the club.
Events from your club, gang members or whatever, I mean, events of what?
Just toy drive parties, you know, benefits, stuff like that.
How long have you known them?
Probably 3 years, 3.5 years.
Let's see. In your statement, do you remember, okay, in your interview, do you remember your interview with the Department of Justice?
Yeah.
According to your interview, you said I showed up at your house at around 9:13 p.m. And you noted that I appeared to be intoxicated.
Not at that time you weren't.
Would you agree that your statement says that?
I don't know, I haven't seen the statement until it was 2 years old.
So I have the defendant or the witness look at his statement, Your Honor.
Sure. So, Mr. Elke, if you just review that and see if that refreshes your recollection about your statement. If it does, then you give it back to the bailiff.
I remember that.
Okay, now you do recall the statement?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so in this statement, you said I came to your house and appeared to be drinking or consuming alcohol, correct?
Yep, that's what it said.
How did you had testified that I was drinking out of a coffee mug earlier and that you didn't know it was alcohol until you had left the apartment and said you found a tequila bottle in your testimony?
I said as our conversation was going on, you seemed to be getting inebriated.
But in your statement, you said I showed up and appeared to be.
Well, then it was wrong.
In your statement, you said I wanted to hunt Vance.
Yeah,
Okay, but in your statement, in your testimony, you said that I wanted to kill Vance in front of his kids.
well, that's what you wanted to do.
But that is not your statement, is it?
In that statement,
Yes.
I don't remember all that.
Was it in your statement to the officer, Howard Fuchs, at the Mina Police Department?
On the 5th,
Yes. Did you tell Officer?
I didn't think we talked about Vance that day. I don't remember.
So that wouldn't have been important that I was wanting to kill Vance in front of his kids?
There was so much commotion going on at the police station that it was just a real active thing. They were in and out of their room, and that was it.
In your statement, you say that you had knowledge of the particular matter and believe the situation involves Flatoff's motorcycle being stolen and taken as collateral for bail money.
That's what you told me. You told me that Vance stole your motorcycle and that, or however that whole situation unfolded, I knew nothing about that except what I was hearing from you. I didn't even know Vance at the time.
Why was I telling you these things? But why are you involved in this case?
Objection, Your Honor. That's overly broad and the first part of speculation.
Sustained.
Why was I contacting you regarding my motorcycle being stolen?
I don't know why. I don't know if you thought I could do something to get back for you or whatever, but I didn't know nothing about how the transaction happened. I didn't know anything. I just heard from you that your bike was stolen.
Why were you coming down to my tattoo shop in 2015?
Objection, relevance.
Relevance.
Oh, that was for another stolen motorcycle issue by the.
Okay, now sustain the objection. That's not relevant for this case.
Why were you talking to Bruce Heisel in regards to me?
Objection, relevance.
Can you be more specific when?
Isn't it true that you were trying to be, I guess, a go-between between Bruce Heisel and myself
No.
and the theft of another motorcycle?
Objection. Other acts, ask and answer as well.
Sustain.
Can I just put this, play this recording? Your Honor, I request the court that I be allowed to play the video of Jerry Alke's interview with Nina Police Department Howard Fuchs. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, F-U-E-R-S-T-E.
First.
For the contents of that interview.
Is it inconsistent with his testimony here today? Is that what you're alleging?
Yes, Your Honor.
The entirety or just small parts of it?
Small parts of it. And I wished like I said, I haven't had, this video was just I was allowed to see it, I mean, about I'm gonna guess within the last 2 weeks. I haven't had time to document it down to which second he says things in this video.
How long is it?
I don't know if it's 10 minutes.
All right, Mr. Seaman?
Your Honor, the state would object. He's asked the witness about any consistencies, and he's given an explanation, and so what's the point of playing the video? He hasn't denied what he said. He said the report says that, and he gave an explanation, so what's the point of playing the video?
All right, so you had the one inconsistency that you pointed out about whether you were drunk when you arrived or you got further or drunk while you were there. Was there other inconsistencies that you want to confront him with?
Yes, Your Honor, and no, well, I guess I'll just confront him. In your video at the police station, in your interview with the Department of Justice, nowhere do you talk about why you were, I guess, the go-between man between Vance Dalton, stealing my motorcycle, ML. None of that came up to them. Why didn't you tell the Neenah Police Department about what was actually going on? I mean, why this came about?
Because you knew that they said that mountain bike. That's what was, I don't know what's the discrepancy about. You told me one thing about the bike, I heard other things about the bike. Who's,
Are you covering for your fellow gang members?
no.
Well, I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Seaman, anything further?
Mr. Elke, is it fair to say that the report that you were shown by the defendant, the two-page report that contained roughly that 2 paragraphs of your statement, was a summary of what you told the police that had occurred that morning?
Yeah, could have been.
And is it fair to say that it was a very busy morning for the police, so that was essentially the basic information?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was a real hectic morning.
No further questions.
All right, Mr. Elke, you may step down. Mr. Seaman, do you have another witness?
I do, Your Honor. State will call Vance Dalton.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give in the matter now before the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
You may have a seat.
Please state your name, spell the last for the record.
Vance Dalton, last name spelled D-A-L-T-O-N.
And are you employed, Mr. Dalton?
Yes, I am.
And how are you employed?
As a heavy equipment and diesel mechanic.
Now, do you know who Brian Flatoff is?
Yes, I do.
And how do you know Brian Flatoff?
We were friends at one time.
And approximately how far back did you two go?
Quite a long ways.
Now, in sometime around late August or so, were you contacted by the defendant to help him post bond?
Yes, I was.
And you recall roughly when it was that he contacted you?
I do believe sometime mid-August.
And that was of 2015?
Yes, sir.
And how much was his bond?
$3,000, I do believe.
Now, did you come to an arrangement with Brian Flatoff regarding how you would get that $3,000 to post his bond?
Yes, we did.
And what was that?
He would sell me his motorcycle.
And did he sell you his motorcycle?
Yes, he did.
And what did you do with the motorcycle? I guess, how did you pay for the motorcycle?
I pulled a loan and gave him $4,500.
And how much was it that you got a loan for?
$4,500.
And was the bike essentially the collateral for that loan?
Yes, it was.
And in exchange for that $4,500, did the defendant agree to do anything with the title to the bike?
It was signed over to me.
And what, if anything, did you do with the $4,500?
I gave the court $3,000 and Mr. Flatoff himself $1,500 to live off of.
And if I may approach, Your Honor,
You may.
states is forward. Sir, I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 4. Can you identify what that is, please?
As a confirmation of ownership for a Harley Davidson 1996 motorcycle.
And is that the same motorcycle that you purchased from the defendant to use as collateral to post his bail?
I do believe so.
State will move Exhibit 4 into evidence.
Any objections? No. All right, Exhibit 4 will be received.
Now, in October, sometime around October 2015 or so, did the defendant approach you or contact you and make any statements regarding that bike and his wish to have it back?
Yes, he did.
So how did that begin?
Late night phone calls.
What, if anything, did the defendant tell you when he make these calls?
Then he wants his motorcycle back. I told him, fine, cover the expenses. And it progressed from there.
And how did it progress from there?
Threats against myself, threats against my children, threats against my wife.
Was he calling you with these threats?
Absolutely.
And what, if anything, specifically would he call and say to you?
He said, if I don't get my bike back, I'm going to kill you. I'll kill your kids. I'll kill your wife to get to you.
And approximately how many of these calls would you say you received, these threatening calls you received from the defendant in the month of October leading up to November 23rd, 2015?
I couldn't even begin to tell you how many. A lot.
Now, at some point, did you write a letter in regard to these threats that you're receiving from the defendant?
Yes, I did.
And who did you address that letter to?
The judge of the case that I posted bond for.
That's the Allegheny County case?
Yes, sir.
And please put it up on the screen. Mr. Dalton, I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 5. Can you identify what that is?
Yes, that's a letter to the judge that I wrote.
Pretty hard to see from up there, it's not very large. Does that appear to be the same exhibit that's projected up on the screen?
Yes, Your Honor.
And in that letter, I'd ask, could you read the last paragraph, please?
Sir, I posted a bond on the premise that Brian will get help and change. He is not. I pray that the court takes this letter into consideration when Brian inevitably gets caught for violating the bond. I worry about losing money, but more importantly, I worry about him hurting someone. I wish I could just revoke the bond.
And does that appear to be a complete and accurate copy of the letter that you sent to the judge in that case?
Yes, it does.
And your statement was Exhibit number 5 in evidence.
Any objections? All right, be received.
And now, Mr. Dalton, I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 6. Can you identify what that's an exhibit of?
It's a Facebook post.
And does that appear to be the same Facebook post that's been presented up on the screen? That's marked as State's Exhibit number 6.
Yes.
And have you seen that exhibit, or that Facebook post before?
Yes, I have.
When did you see that?
On my Facebook page.
And that was sent to your Facebook page?
Yes.
And who, can you tell who had sent you that Facebook post?
It's Brian Flatoff.
And how do you know it was Brian Flatoff that sent you that post?
It came off of his page.
And is there anything else specific regarding that post that identifies it as Brian Flatoff to you as the person that had written it?
It goes along the lines of the threats he was making.
Now, did he tend to speak in a language or make statements in a language other than English at some point?
Yes, in Polish.
And was that a common thing Brian Flatoff would do?
Yes, it would.
And is there a Polish sentence or a Polish statement all on that Facebook post?
Yes, there is.
And what, if anything, does that Polish sentence tell you?
Wszystko God's will be done.
And is that something consistent with Brian Flatoff?
Yes.
Your Honor, state moves exhibit number 6 in the evidence.
Any objection? Proceed.
Permission to publish exhibits number 5 and 6 to the jury since it didn't project very large on the screen.
Did you just want to read it to them, have them read, or do you want
I was
to?
going to pass through publish.
But if it take, I guess I'd ask that we just read it to, because if everyone reads it, it's going to take.
That's fine.
Okay.
I would withdraw the request. Can you just read the Facebook post, please?
What's on my mind the weeks ahead where I expect some pay for their outlaw shit against their brother?
Wait, can you just slow down?
Oh,
And, yeah,
sorry.
we're not slurring it all together, so slow way down and read it louder.
What's on my mind the weeks ahead where I expect some to pay for their outlaw shit against their brother, and the days ahead where I teach them what that means. Never fuck with a psychotic motherfucker. Just remember, you know whose you are. You will get my meaning, and I'm going to enjoy your suffering and pain. I'm bringing you as my nightmares. I'm going to send you to the places you earned. To those that turned on me, or turned me on, I am eternally sorry and will do my best to make it right. That's all. Good night. Tick, tick, tick. I'm going to enjoy your pain. You have no idea what the hell is coming. The best you can do is repent and make shit right. It's all as it is supposed to be. Shishka Vashenka, God's will be done.
Now, Mr. Dalton, I'm going to direct your attention to December 5th, 2015. Do you recall that day?
Yes.
And specifically approximately 8:50 a.m. Do you recall what you were doing on that date and at that time?
I was cooking my children breakfast.
And on that date and time, did you receive a call from somebody?
Yes, I received a call from Brian Morrison.
Do you know who Ryan Motorson is?
Yes, I do.
And how do you know Ryan Motorson?
We were actually very good friends at the time.
Now, what, if anything, did Ryan Motorson say to you when he made that call?
And he said, you need to come down to the shop right now.
Honor, object to hearsay.
Response?
Not offered for the truth of the matter asserted.
All right, so I'll sustain it to a degree. Don't give us the details, but what did you take away from that message?
That he needed me to come down to the shop.
Mr. Seaman?
What, if anything, did you say in response to that?
I'll be there shortly.
Now, at some point, did Mr. Motorson say something to you that implied that you should do something other than come down to the shop?
Yes, he told me directly, don't come down here, brother. Call 911. Brian's here with a gun.
And could you hear anybody in the background?
Yes, I could hear Mr. Flatoff.
And what, if anything, could you hear Brian Flatoff saying in the background?
If you don't get him down here, I'm going to kill you all.
Did you hear him making any other threats towards anybody else?
Yes, he said that if he doesn't come down here, I'll kill his wife and kids.
Did you make a call to 911?
Yes, I did.
And did you have an opportunity prior to testifying today to review the call that you had made to 911?
Sort bits and pieces of it.
And play Exhibit 8 from play file 911-8-159. were you able to tell who it was that was speaking to 911?
Yes, that was me.
And that was when you placed the initial call to 911, correct?
Yes, sir.
And play file 911_846.
Inside the business right now. Yes. His name is Brian Flatoff. Does he have a concealed carry or what's the... No, he's a felon on bail.
And play 911_855.
What is his name again, Brian? Flatoff, F-L-A-T-O-F-F. He said he's going to kill everybody in the building. Brother, hang in there, man. I'm going. So you're getting this secondhand? Yes, ma'am. Okay. What's your cell phone number? My number is 920-619-1760. Okay. Do you still have your brother on the phone? Yes, he's still there. He's up the phone holding laying on the toolbox. Okay, what do you hear? The guy said he's going to kill everybody in there and then he's going to come kill my wife and children.
Do you recall approximately how long you were on the phone with 911 that morning?
Over 3 hours.
And play file 911_830.
Did you hear anything? Any shots fired or anything that way? No. So we go back down to there's at least 2 hostages in the building.
And play 911_826.
Okay, what do you hear now, Sam? Just him saying that he's going to kill everybody in the building. You can hear Brian saying that out loud? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. He's saying he's going to come, if I don't show up, he's going to come here and kill my wife and kill.
Do you recall at one point hearing Brian Flatoff give a countdown or a timeline?
Yes.
And what was that you heard him say?
If I can't say yes and no or what it was right now. I honestly can't.
Play 911_812 at 9:20 a.m.
Everybody try to show up within 5 minutes. Okay. So Brian, he's telling the brother that if they...
Do you recall what Brian said was going to happen if you didn't show up in 5 minutes?
Yeah, it's going to kill everybody in the building.
Play 911_822 at 9:30.
You better hurry up there. He's telling that to you? I can hear it over the phone. No worries, he's on his way. My brother keeps going.
Now, when you're referring to brother, who's that you're referring to?
Ryan Motorson.
Play 911_807 at 9:38.
You know, so everybody's gonna fucking die.
Play 911_816 at 9:41.
You see, you're also bad contractors. I'll blow your ears off. Say that again? You said you all think he's some bad motherfuckers. I'll blow your ears off.
Now, at some point while you're on open line with Ryan Motorson and with 911, did you hear anything similar to gunshots?
Yes,
And do you recall approximately how many gunshots?
a lot.
Play 911_810 at 9:42 and 37 seconds a.m.
Gunshots. How many? A lot.
Do you recall, after hearing the gunfire, what, if anything, you could hear the defendant saying from inside the shop then, next?
No, I can't.
Play, was there a point in time then where you heard additional gunshots?
Yes,
And did you report that to 911?
yes,
Play 911_810 at 9:45:20.
Gunshots. 5.
How many gunshots did you report hearing at that time?
5.
Now, at some point, did you hear the defendant make any statements about the police?
I can't remember.
Play 911_814 at 10:17.
I hear what you're saying. He wants me on the phone with the police. I think he said along with that. Everyone's fine.
Could you recall what you reported hearing the defendant say at that point?
Or no, I cannot.
Play 911_815 at 10:21.
They open the door and pull the trigger. Say that again? Ryan saying they open the door and pull the trigger. Ryan, they open the door and pull the trigger.
Based on what you could hear the defendant saying in the background, could you tell who he was talking about in reference if they opened the door, he was pulling the trigger?
Yes, I believe he was referencing law enforcement.
Now, at some point, then you ended the 911 call, correct?
Yes,
And it seems like a silly question, but it's necessary for some elementary purposes. But did you give the defendant consent or permission to threaten to harm yourself or your family?
no,
Did you give him consent or permission to enlist Ryan Motorson to get you to come down to the Eagle Nation shop that day?
no,
Do you see Brian Flatoff in court here today?
yes, I do.
Can you identify him please by where he is seated and what he's wearing?
He's seated at the defense table wearing glasses and a black shirt.
Two persons to my left.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, it has to record reflect the witnesses identify the defendant.
Any objections, Mr. Flatoff?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, the record will reflect that.
State moves Exhibit 8 in evidence.
Any objections, Mr. Flatoff?
No, Your Honor.
All right, we'll receive Exhibit 8.
No further questions.
All right, at this time, we're going to take our break for the evening, and Mr. Flatoff, you can start tomorrow morning with your cross-examination of Mr. Dalton. So Mr. Dalton, you would step down. So ladies and gentlemen, we're going to reconvene. We're going to start our trial at 8:30 tomorrow morning. We're going to have you report at 8:15 to room 60, which was the room that you reported to this morning. There is another trial set to go tomorrow, so it's going to be the same thing that you saw today, but you're not participating with all that. You're just going to meet, maybe walk in and right to the front left. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Okay. What's that? At the bottom of the stairs to the left, kind of congregate there, do look for Dave and Lonnie, and then you'll ride up together to the jury room on the 5th floor. And again, our goal is to get going at 8:30. Before you leave today, I'm going to do this probably quite often with you and every break, but I do want to tell you again, do not begin your deliberations and discussions of the case until all the evidence is presented and I have instructed you on the law. Do not discuss this amongst yourselves or with anyone else until your final deliberations in the jury room. Do not research any information that you personally think might be helpful to you in understanding the issues presented. Do not investigate the case on your own or visit the scene. Do not read newspaper reports or listen to any news reports on radio or television about this trial. Do not consult dictionaries, computers, websites, or other reference materials for additional information. Any information you obtain outside the courtroom could be misleading, inaccurate, or incomplete. It's unfair because the parties would not have an opportunity to refute, explain, or correct it. Do not communicate with anyone about this trial or your experience as a juror while you are serving on this jury. Do not use computers, cell phones, or other electronic device with communication capabilities to share any information. Do not permit anyone to communicate with you or anyone. If anyone does so, despite you telling them not to, you should report that to me. I appreciate that it's tempting when you go home in the evening to discuss this case with another member of your household, but you may not do so. This case must be decided by you, the jurors, based on the evidence that you have seen presented in the courtroom. People not serving on this jury have not heard the evidence, and it's improper for them to influence your deliberations and decisions in this case. After this trial is completed, you are free to communicate with anyone in any manner. And again, these rules are put into place to ensure a fair, impartial jury. And if there's a violation, it could result in significant expense to both the parties and the taxpayers. So, have a good evening tonight, and we'll see you tomorrow back in the courtroom around 8:30, at 8:15 down in Route 60. Yes. Okay. Well, yeah, okay, that's it.
No clerks in hand. Bring it to the room.
All right, please be seated. All right, is there any other issues that we need to take up outside the presence of the jury, Mr. Seaman?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Flatoff, any issues that we need to take up outside the presence of the jury?
Subpoenas?
What's that?
Subpoenas?
Your Honor, I've received several calls to my office, I think primarily from law enforcement with concerns about subpoenas. I advised Brian of such and asked him to, advise him to discuss that issue with you. Essentially, there's at least one witness, Deputy Diane Handrich, who has indicated to my staff that she has a scheduled vacation during the time for which she was subpoenaed. And another message I received from Aaron Olson with the Neenah PD with concerns about the number of officers who have been subpoenaed. At this point, I've just advised my staff to tell them that the subpoenas are the court's order, but I don't know if the court has any further ruling on that issue.
Did Deputy Hendrick give any details about that trip, or when she leaves?
She did not, Your Honor. She left a message, but I have not had an opportunity to call her back.
All right. Could I ask you, Mr. Slodge, to contact her back and get the details and see if we can fit that in somehow in this presentation? I mean, if she's leaving tomorrow and gone for the next 2 weeks, then she'll be excused. But if there's some way to fit it in at the tail end of the trial or before she leaves, we can coordinate that. Also, I would ask if you would coordinate with that Neenah Police Department, do you say sergeant?
I don't know his position, Your Honor. I just know that the message I received was that it was an individual by the name of Aaron Olson from the Neenah Police Department.
Okay. And I would ask that you could maybe coordinate when those officers would arrive. And so if they have, obviously it's going to overwhelm the department if they're all down here at the same time. So if, I don't know how many Neenah police officers are, but let's say there's 8 that you subpoenaed. So maybe 2 or 3 on each day, and just see what works best for their schedule to get them here and on and off the stand.
All right, we do have one issue regarding the exhibit, that's the, what is that, exhibit 4, the gun? 3, the gun. Branch 5 is really not equipped to handle a gun in this courtroom, so my suggestion is we look in, I guess there's a safe place on the second floor that it can be locked, at least for the evening or for the duration of the trial until it's needed back in the courtroom. And any objections, the sheriff's deputy takes that out of the court's hands and locks it down on the second floor where they have apparently a locked safe that it can be safeguarded.
No, Your Honor.
Any objections, Mr. Flatoff?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, so that would be the order of court. It will be returned over to, I don't know who's here anymore, but the sheriff's deputies. And they will bring it down to the second floor, lock it up, and in the end, if it's needed, or during the trial, if it's needed, we can request it, and they can go down and bring it back to the trial. I'd ask, could we get him up here by like 8:20 so that he has time to set up? I mean, the faster we get moving, the better this is. So if he can get up here by 8:20, that way he can get all his paperwork and all that other stuff organized. But having said that, that's the exact same time we told the jurors to kind of make it up here as well. So there needs to be coordination so that they're not running into each other. Anything further?
Are we going to secure the courtroom tonight, so we can just leave everything but the gun under lock and key?
Sure. We'll take the exhibits. Do we have all the exhibits?
Yes.
Okay, yes, we'll secure the courtroom. Anything further, Mr. Flatoff?
No, Your Honor.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow morning.
It was 8:30, right?
Yeah, it'll start at 8:30, so be here a little before.